I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Nerds! For those of you who are not yet aware, we are currently offering a monthly subscription service for our listeners for the low price of $2.99 per month. I mean, that's like the price of what? A 12-ounce drip coffee at Starbucks or half of a Starbucks latte? For $2.99 a month, subscribers will gain access to 2 brand new bonus episodes dropping on the first and third Fridays of each month, plus our entire back catalog of bonus episodes. And that ranges from our most recent film review of the 2023 movie Flash, going all the way back to another movie, our very first bonus episode, which not coincidentally is connected to Flash, and that is Tim Burton's 1989 film Batman. And there's a lot in between that you're going to miss out on if you don't subscribe. So hey, click on the link in the description today to get started. Nerds, thank you so much. Now back to today's episode.
Nerds! We're here. Where are we at, Will?
We're at Boyerland. It's like Elvis Presley land, except smaller. And
You mean Graceland?
yes. We're at the Boyer abode.
I don't know how to say this in French, but the La Casa de Boyer. We'll do it in Spanish. La Casa de Boyer.
Depending on who you talk to, Boyer might be a French last name anyway.
Oh yeah, and
for Bowman. Actually, it's German for farmer. So
German for farmer. Okay.
We paid someone to do a ancestry test, and they were like, "You're French. You're a Bowman." And we're like, "No, we're not." That's not correct.
Yeah, my last name was like the Old English Bieste, and I think it may have derived from the term for sheep herder or something like that. So at some point way back, like 1,000 years ago, there were sheep herders in my ancestry line, apparently. Yeah, that's kind of cool though. People of the earth. Like, we've always been like lowly serfs or lower middle class folks, with maybe a few exceptions here and there.
You ever find a mysterious urge in the middle of the night to go shepherd some sheep?
No, but I did own a sheepdog at one point. I had a border collie for 11 years. Yeah, that was my childhood dog, was a border collie. And he wanted to herd some sheep, but he didn't have any sheep to herd, so he just ran around the backyard doing that. You know, the thing where the dogs like run and they'll stop and they'll like jump up, and then come back down, but just on their front legs.
Huh.
You know, but anyway, he barked at a lot of cars, but he had kind of that, you could see it in how he moved and stuff, that's the herding instinct.
Cool.
But yeah, he never got the chance to do it, at least not with us anyway. We adopted him when he was maybe about 2.5, 3 years old. So I don't know if he ever got the chance before us, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Yeah. I don't think there's any sheep herders in Arizona. Not sure though. Might be somebody somewhere that has a sheep ranch in Arizona. Could be.
Who knows?
Could be. I guess they could live in high desert. I mean, why not? Why not?
Why
so,
not?
Will, what are we going to talk about tonight? And what were we going to talk about tonight?
Well, we were going to talk about our balding issues, but no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Those of you watching on video, you can see our ample bellies.
Yes.
Yeah, we both need to drop a few pounds and never pick them back up again.
Well, our aging bodies aside, we were going to talk about Grave of the Fireflies, but we decided that movie would be too depressing and serious. And we've been talking a lot of serious stuff lately. Richard reviewed Oppenheimer. We talked about Psycho. I've already forgot the name of the film.
Psychopath.
Psychopath. Path.
Providence, not
Providence.
Psychopath. You know, as I mistakenly said right after seeing the film. You know, But in fairness, neither one of us knew what it was pretty much until that day.
Yeah.
Right. So.
And then we talked about Watership Down, and all good films, all made us think. Well, I didn't see Oppenheimer, Richard did, but you know what I mean. Made us all do a lot of heavy thinking, so we just wanted some comfort food tonight.
Or more specifically, I did. Like, it was my idea to do Grave of the Fireflies. I'd seen it once a long time ago, and I thought it was, like, took place in the wake of Hiroshima. But I found out that I was mistaken on that. It was in the wake of a bombing of this town called Kubo in Japan, but it was not Hiroshima. And I thought it would be like a tie-in to Oppenheimer, which it, in some sense, still would have been. But I think, having seen it once before, it was just so depressing. Like Watership Down gave it a run for its money, but I think Grave of the Fireflies, I would still say, the most depressing animated film I've ever seen. Like, beautifully done, but depressing. And I think even more so now, because when I first saw it, I don't know if I had any daughters at the time, and now I do. And yeah, one of the main plot points is a young girl who's essentially starving to death. I don't remember if she actually dies or not, but her and her brother are starving and just trying to find food, trying to survive. That's basically the plot of the movie. So I was like, I was trying to talk Will out of it, and eventually he's like, "You don't really want to watch this, do you?" I was like, "No." So we're doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Instead. Which obviously the new animated TMNT is coming out next month.
Yeah.
I think maybe about 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today. Comes out 2 weeks from today. So kind of in preparation for that or leading up to that, we're going to do some TMNT, some of the old classics. So this is the 1990 film.
Yeah.
If you want to bring that up, I'm going to tell the folks a little bit about it. Those of you, because some of you that are listening, like if we have any Gen Z listeners, you've probably heard about the film, but unlike, you wouldn't have experienced what Will and I did, where we grew up, like we were young children during the time when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles first became popular. So like we, in the 80s, like in 19...
We were young, heartache to heartache.
What?
I just felt like breaking out the song.
Hey, that's okay.
This is your first time seeing this film, right?
Yeah, actually, believe it or not. It's one of those, like, heard about it, like even read, like, picture books from the library that talked about the plot and the behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, I remember very vividly, as we were rewatching it, like, pictures that I'd seen, like, Raphael in the bathtub, and, like, April there attending to his knees, and Shredder hanging from the fence, and not Shredder, excuse me, Splinter hanging from the fence, and stuff like that. And, but I don't think I'd ever seen it, until today. So what is this thing? So, a rehash for those who may have seen it or just were aware of it back in the day, and for those of you that don't really know much about it at all, you're about to find out. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a 1990 American superhero film. I don't know if I'd call it that, would you? Superhero? Hero film, for sure, right?
I consider Ninja Turtles more of a martial art, sci-fi, but some people consider it within the superhero genre.
I think I'd put it more in martial arts like you would. Anyway, it's a film directed by Steve Barron and written by Todd W. Langen and Bobby Herbeck from a story by Herbeck. It is the first film adaptation of the comic book characters created by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. So, some of the main cast stars Judith Hoag and Elias Koteas, and the voice talents of Brian Toki, Robbie Rist, Corey Feldman, and Josh Pais. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles follows the Turtles on a quest to save their master Splinter with their new allies April O'Neil and Casey Jones from the Shredder and his Foot Clan. So, a little bit more about the cast here, and then Will's going to talk to us about the plot. So obviously Judith Hoag plays April O'Neil. This is one of the movies apparently she's best known for, but I was looking over her IMDb, and she has done a lot of television, like a lot. She's made a career out of like guest roles and stuff, and guest of the week type roles in TV for decades. So, but this is one of the films that she's known for. Elias Koteas, who I have seen in quite a few things over the years. He plays Casey Jones. I think both Judith and Elias were in their late 20s when they made this film, so still relatively young, still relatively early in their Hollywood careers. But Casey Jones is a streetwise vigilante and former ice hockey player who becomes an ally of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
And a much better portrayal than in the animated series where he's just crazy.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, just broadly speaking, like, having seen the animated series and grown up with that, loved it as a kid, rewatched it a little bit as an adult, and I'm like, this is bad. But watching this movie's much better than what I remember of the animated series, I think. Jay Patterson plays Charles Pennington, April's boss. Michael Turney as Danny Pennington, who has a pretty pivotal role in the film, Charles's teenage son. Raymond Serra as Stearns, the chief of the New York City Police Department, who just yells a lot for some reason. I think he's trying to go off the donuts. I think he's on a diet or something. He's just angry all the time. James Saito plays Oroku Saki, a.k.a. the Shredder, the leader of a network of runaways turned thieves and the main antagonist of the film. Toshishiro Obata plays Master Tatsu. Shredder's second-in-command Sam Rockwell makes an appearance, one of his first film appearances as the head thug, an unmasked gang member. Skeet Ulrich and Scott Wolf appear as unnamed members of the Foot Clan. I didn't know that. And apparently TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman has a small cameo as a garbage man.
I didn't see that. There was a portion at the end of the film where a garbage truck is left unmanned. I wonder if he fled out of the garbage truck during the fight.
Well,
missed it.
According to him, he was supposed to have an extended spot, but it ended up being a background cameo instead. So he got cut out of his own movie in a sense.
Well, that sounds...
It's like, well, we know you're important, but...
Yeah. Well, that's sad.
So, okay, so this film is kind of unique in that the voices of the Turtles and Splinter are not done necessarily by the same people that... Like, you have puppeteers involved. I think you said the Jim Henson Company is involved.
Yeah, the Creature Studio, right?
Yeah, like, I can't... Jim Henson... Something like that. Something like that. But there were characters who did the voices of the Turtles, and then there were those who were skilled in martial arts that played the live action. So we got, for the voice cast, we have Brian Toki as Leonardo, leader of the Turtles and closest to Splinter. Josh Pais as Raphael, the rebellious and angry turtle.
I loved his performance. I do.
Yeah, no, he did good. He kind of has that rough, like, angry Brooklyn thing going on. You know, it worked pretty well, I think. Corey Feldman does the voice of Donatello, who's supposed to be the brains of the Turtles, which we don't really see in this film.
No, we'll see more of that in the sequel film to this. I really like Donatello in Secret of the Ooze.
Nice. Robbie Rist plays Michelangelo, or does his voice, the youngest turtle. He's the fun-loving partier. Anyone who's seen the animated series from the 80s knows that. And that kind of has carried through in a lot of the other iterations as well, I think. Kevin Clash plays Splinter, the Turtles' master. And if you don't know who Kevin Clash is, which I did not, but I saw him on IMDb, he is the man behind Elmo. Which, if you listen to the two voices, they don't sound anything alike, but I guess he did the voice, and he probably did the puppeteering as well, at least part of it. A puppet as complicated as Splinter usually would have like probably 2 or 3 people involved in the actual puppetry.
Yeah.
Elmo loves you. Elmo say kick butt. Yay! Cowabunga!
He does a better Elmo than I do. Oh man, Michael McConaughey plays
Turtles.
Master Tatsu, who pretty much all he does is just stick his fist out like this and do fight, punch, retreat, or stuff like that. He doesn't do too much else other than fight and look angry. So, but in puppeteers, so like you have the in suit performers. David Foreman played Leonardo. Martin P. Robinson did the face, like, so they're wearing these heads that I guess, I don't know, robotic mouth movements and stuff. So you had people on that, and then you had Leaf Tilden did Donatello as the in-suit performer. Apparently we had David Rudman did the facial assistant. Ernie Reyes Jr. was an in-suit martial arts stunt double. So you had a skateboarding double. Reggie Barnes did that.
Oh.
Jess Pice did Raphael, in-suit performer. David Greenaway was a facial assistant. Kevin Troom was an in-suit martial arts stunt double. So I guess you had some in-suit performers, and then you would have martial arts people in the suit for those scenes. So Michelin Sisti, what a name, as Michelangelo, in-suit performer. Mac Wilson as Michelangelo, the facial assistant. So I'm guessing this guy did his own martial arts, Michelin Sisti. And Kevin Clash was the puppeteer for Splinter. He had help from Ricky Boyd and Robert Tickner. Oh, so it says here, all 4 actors who played the in-suit turtles also appeared in cameos, with David Foreman as a gang member, Michelin Sisti as a pizza delivery man. So that was Michelangelo's in-suit guy.
Really?
He was the pizza man. That seems fitting, actually.
Huh.
Leaf Tilden was a messenger of the foot, and Josh Pice was a passenger in a taxi. Oh, haha. Okay, yeah. He was the guy in the back who was like, what was that? It's
Oh.
like, I think it was a turtle dressed up in a trench coat. Pice was the only actor to portray a turtle on screen and also provide his voice. Okay, so he did both. Nice. So that's the cast and a little bit about the film. Now Will is going to talk about the plot and the story.
Well, the plot revolves around April O'Neil and the 4 Turtle brothers as they unravel the mystery of the Foot Clan, which is not a giant mystery, at least not to the audience. I should have written this down, but anyway, I've seen this movie a million times. I saw it in the theaters as a child. It was one of my earliest memories of the movie theater. I was 5 years old. So I know this movie like the back of my hand. Basically, April gets targeted by the Foot Clan. The Turtles rescue her, reveal themselves to her. The Foot Clan burned down April O'Neil's father's antique shop and apartment. They flee to the O'Neill farm in the countryside, where the Turtles heal and rest up until they're ready to return to New York to face the Shredder, in which case the Shredder's street gang and the Foot Clan are easily dispensed, with Shredder falling into a garbage truck manned by Casey Jones. I glossed over a few things there, like the subplot with April O'Neil's boss's son Danny and things like that, but that's the gist of the plot.
All right, so that's our plot summary. So let's get into talking about the film. So Will, this was my first.
I forgot to mention Splinter was kidnapped. That was pretty
yeah,
good.
I thought you'd missed that. That's pretty important. That's a catalyst for a lot of the action in the film. Like he gets kidnapped by the Foot Clan. I would think.
That's why the Turtles returned to New York to face the Shredder to rescue Splinter. But yes.
Indeed. Well, actually, don't they think... Because he's... Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see. So, first experiences with this film. Obviously, this was mine. Well, I shouldn't say that. My first time seeing the film, but it wasn't necessarily my first experience around it. But for you, you said earlier this was one of the first films you saw in theaters as a kid.
Right. I mean, I saw a few films before this, but I was so young I almost don't remember those. I saw Oliver and Company, I saw The Great Mouse Detective, but this...
That would have been after this.
It would have been after this?
95, I think.
Which one?
Great Mouse Detective.
Really? That was 95?
Mm-hmm.
The Disney one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Or 93 at the earliest.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
so it would have been after this. But
my memories are a little jumbled up, but Ninja Turtles, the 1990 film, is definitely one of my earliest theatrical experiences.
You would have been 5.
Yeah.
Right? 5 years old.
5. Sorry, I'm just confused mentally now that the date for the Great Mouse Detective has been changed on me.
I messed him up.
Okay, but Oliver, that was 87. That was
Oliver
had to
and
be
Company
87,
definitely came before. Yeah.
or something like that.
88, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
But anyway,
Well, you'd have been like 3 when you saw that.
yeah, I remember the Happy Meal toys and
Nice.
like vaguely seeing them in film. But anyway, what was the question?
Well, Joe, just what kind of a little bit about your experiences seeing it. So, like, had you seen any of the animated series prior to seeing the live action film?
Definitely. I was big in Turtle Mania. I just arrived fresh off of the real Ghostbusters and was translated to Turtles. It was the late 80s. I had the in my opinion, the best cartoons from that series on VHS. The arc that explains the Turtles' origins up until they fight kaiju-sized Krang with the turtle blimp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had all that on VHS. Like I said, it was full-blown Turtle Mania. Dancing to the theme song. And yeah, I was super excited the movie was coming out. I admit being a little confused as a child because I expected the movie to have Krang and things like, and Rocksteady and Bebop and things like that, and that didn't happen. Of course, as an adult, I'm thankful that didn't happen because they crafted a film that was more accurate to the comic books. It still had nods to the cartoon series, like the pizza, of course, and the word Cowabunga. But it's a good film. It focuses more on... It still keeps the fantastical element of the ooze mutating them, of course, but it leaves out the space aliens and focuses more on the ninja aspect.
I forgot about the space aliens.
Well, Krang is a...
I know Krang was an alien.
extra-dimensional space alien of some kind.
Extra-dimensional, okay. I forgot about that.
He's related to the Utroms.
The Umtroms.
Utroms.
Wow. Yeah, I have not watched the animated series, and aside from that handful of episodes I watched, I don't know if this is back in my 20s or might have been in my 20s. It's been a long time since I've seen any of it. So yeah, I'm guessing you've probably watched it more often than I have in the interim.
Just enough to realize that it just doesn't hold up well. I'd like to find the Usagi Yojimbo episodes and own them.
Yeah,
on DVD, but I have the trading cards with from the Usagi Yojimbo episode anyway. But besides that, I don't really need to own the original series on DVD. The 2003 series and the Nickelodeon 2012 series were much better. They stand up a lot better.
Well, cool. So, do you remember the experience in the theater itself? Like, do you remember how you felt seeing it? How you felt afterwards? Like,
Well, my dad had to take me all the way to Greensboro or something. I don't remember, some theater way out of the way, like an hour away, because all the tickets were sold out everywhere else.
Oh yeah, but Turtle Mania.
Yeah, and I feel bad about it. Later when I got older. The fuss I made that I want to see this movie, but it was all sold out everywhere, and just the trouble that he went through to find a theater that still had tickets. He waited outside the whole time for me to see the movie.
That's pretty cool that your dad did that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't remember a whole lot. I know I was by myself when I saw the movie, but I don't remember a whole lot about how I felt about the movie, other than I really enjoyed it. I remember the theater was dark. What I do remember is the feeling I got when I saw the poster. I would see the poster in comic books. I would see it out and about, and just the way that the turtle heads were peering out of the manhole. Even today, it just gives me the warm feels or something seeing it.
And not in an inappropriate way either.
Ha ha ha.
Nerds, we would love to find out who is on the other side of the microphone. There are multiple options by which you can connect with us. Our Instagram handle is @irreverent_nerds. We are on Facebook and YouTube as simply The Irreverent Nerds. Makes sense, right? And of course, we are on your podcast app. If you listen on Spotify, scroll down through the episode description and you will see a question. What did you think of this episode? We welcome your feedback, including your constructive criticism. We also post episode-specific polls and questions from time to time on Spotify, so please feel free to jump in and give us your 2 cents. All right, nerds, I've talked enough. Let's get back to this week's episode.
Gives them the warm fuzzies. No, I remember. Did you have more you wanted to share?
Nah.
I remember seeing the advertisements as well. So I'm a little older than Will, about a year and a half older, and so I know I watched some of the series when it was out. I probably didn't start watching it when it first came out. I would have been 4. So it's probably not something my parents would have let me watch. I'm not entirely sure at what point I started seeing episodes, but I know I saw some, and I definitely had the toys. Like, I remember, probably my most vivid memories are of having the toys from the animated series, the late 80s, like, and playing with those and making up stories with those. But I definitely remember hearing about the film. Like, I'm sure I must have seen some TV advertisements at different points or trailers. Probably had some friends that were talking about it, I would imagine. I don't have distinct memories on that front, but I just remember it just being around. And I remember at one point, it was either before or after it came out in theaters, but you know how a lot of times studios don't do this much now, but they have other methods of getting things out there, but they would release these like picture books. I guess they still do it for some movies, but it would give sort of a synopsis of the plot, and it would have pictures from the movie itself as well as some behind the scenes information. And I remember, I don't think I owned it, but I must have gotten it from the library or something. I remember reading the one for this movie, and there were images that were just kind of burned in my mind as we were just as I was just watching it tonight. Like, those memories came back of seeing that in those books. And
I definitely remember the picture books and the coloring books based on the movie as well.
Oh, okay. I don't know if I ever got one of those.
There might have been a comic book adaptation too. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, that was one thing. I think the first of this trilogy that I saw might have actually been the third one. It was either the second or the third one. I think I was at my uncle's house, and he had a, they have still to this day have this, but they have a basement that was finished, and there was like a pool table down there, and they had a TV with a Nintendo, and they had a bunch of VHS movies, and I think they had the second and third. So I think I watched those in the basement of my uncle's house when we were visiting from out of town, but I don't think they had the first one, which is why I never saw it, I think. Because at the time, like, I didn't grow up going to see, as we talked about before, I didn't grow up going to theaters. Like, my family, we just didn't go to theaters. So I had to wait for things to come out on VHS, and I guess this is one that I never, like, bugged my parents about, or maybe I did, and they said no. Because my parents, like, if they thought it was maybe too violent, or if they had previewed it and thought it wasn't appropriate, then we wouldn't get to see it as kids. I think probably the only time they really suspended that was for Jurassic Park. Like, they allowed me to watch that at a friend's house when I was only 11. I wasn't even PG. I wasn't 13 yet, I wasn't the recommended age. I was 11, and it scared me out of my pajama pants.
I remember hiding behind the theater seat when I saw Jurassic Park.
Oh, man. Like,
during the T-Rex scene, I was hiding behind the seat in front of me.
No, that totally makes sense. You would have been 8 years old when that came out.
I was only a year and a half younger than you.
Yeah, and I was 10 when it came out, so I saw it about roughly a year after it came out. And I know I've been bugging my parents about that.
Pretty sure I was 9.
I knew I wouldn't get to see it in the theater. It came out in '93. I know I wouldn't get to see it in the theater, but like, I got checked out the books from the library, and like, I was big into dinosaurs in general around that time. And they finally let me see it at a friend's house, and my friend and I got I think I've told this story before on the podcast, but my friend and I got the bright idea to watch it after everyone else had gone to bed. So we watched it, started it at like, I don't know, 10 o'clock or something. Like, everyone else was already in bed. Might have even been 11, and his parents let us do it. I think his name was Josh, if memory serves me, my friend. And he had already seen it, probably in theaters, as well as he owned the VHS, so he'd already watched it quite a few times. He fell asleep. And I'm over here watching it basically by myself in the dark. And, everyone else in the house is already in bed. And I think the part that freaked me out the most is when Samuel L. Jackson's character, when the hand falls down on
Ellie Sattler?
Yeah, on Ellie, and then she thinks he's okay, and it's just a hand. Or just an arm. Just like, that freaked me out the most. And I was like waking my friend. I was, Josh, wake up. Anyway, that's a side note. So back to this movie. I think I've seen 2 and 3, I think, at some point. Definitely 3. I have very clear memories of seeing the third one where they go to Japan.
Yeah.
And I believe I have seen the second one too, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, this was my first time seeing the original. And it's really good. I enjoyed it. But yeah, as a kid, it was more like just the hearing about it and reading about it and seeing pictures and the trailers probably. But never actually seeing the film itself. Which is kind of funny. Yeah, and I was like playing the video games too, like the original Teenage Ninja Turtles on Nintendo. I owned that, and then I would play
the first one.
Yeah, the first one.
Man, that was torture.
Oh man, I never beat it. I never did beat it. To this day, I have not beaten it. And then I remember renting the second and third ones at different points and playing the second one at arcades because it was like the arcade version. Stuff like that. So yeah, I was big into Teenage Ninja Turtles. Yeah, but I guess. Yeah, either I didn't bug my parents enough, or they said no to like me owning the movies because I never owned the movies. So yeah, those are some of my earliest experiences.
So what should we talk about next about the movie?
So I guess we could talk about what we liked the most about it.
Okay.
First,
yeah.
and then after that we could talk about what we didn't like about it, like. What we thought should have been different, kind of thing. And you're more familiar with the comics, so you can speak more to where maybe it didn't match up as well as you would like to the comics. But to start with, let's talk about what we really liked about it. So since I just talked for a while, I'll let you go first.
Well, I really like how April O'Neil is living. I mean, she was never a reporter in the comics. The reporting aspect was definitely lifted from the cartoon series. In the comics, she's actually a scientist who assists the scientist Baxter Stockman. That would have been great if we got a live action Stockman. Anyway, I think we're going to get a Stockman in the new cartoon that's coming out next month.
About time.
But
is April finally going to be a scientist too?
She's going to be a child, so I don't think so.
Ah, that's weird.
Have you seen trailers? You haven't seen the trailers yet.
I've seen one. I don't think it shows April much.
Okay.
So, that's weird. Okay.
She's the pudgy black girl. Have you seen her yet?
What?
Yeah, that's April.
Okay, I'm a little confused, but no, I don't know if I've seen that part yet or not, but I'll have to watch another trailer.
Okay.
Or rewatch the one I saw. Maybe I just didn't catch it because I was looking for like a blonde-headed, older, or not. Maybe not. Well, she wasn't blonde-headed in the cartoon, but a full-grown woman in like a yellow jumpsuit or something.
Right. Well, that's an entirely different topic. That I'm not going to focus on for but a few seconds right now. But yeah, April has changed over this different cartoon series. In the 2012 series, she was a teenager herself. Then in Rise of the Ninja Turtles, which was the most recent 2D animated cartoon series, she was a teenager, but she was black. And the original comics, she might have been ethnic. She might have been black in the original comics. She was based on, was it Peter Lorard or Kevin Eastman's wife? I can't remember, but it was based on one of their wives before they got a divorce. Anyway, so I think that she's supposed to be of mixed race originally in the comics. The whole redheaded Irish...
So they whitewashed her for the cartoon.
They did. They whitewashed her for the cartoon.
Oh, that's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah.
You didn't really even need to do that back then in the 80s. Like, you had other cartoons where there was diversity and stuff. Like, remember Captain Planet?
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that? Like,
definitely.
That had a diverse cast. Like, you could do that. That's kind of sad, actually. I didn't know that.
I think they took her last name O'Neill and just ran with it. But the cartoon series was not heavily inspired by the comic book series.
Very true. It would have been better if it had been.
Yeah. See, the 2003 series was a lot more heavily based on the comic books, and actually had the input of the original creators on that series. So
nice.
I recommend the 2003 series. It has its own takes and spins, of course. But anyway, getting back to the movie at hand. What I really like about the film is that we do use some of the comic book plots. April O'Neil is living in the apartment above Second Time Around, which is the antique shop that she does own in the comics. Just like in the comics, the Foot Clan invades and the apartment and antique store burn down, and they flee to the farm. In the comic books, it was Casey Jones's farm that they fled to, and this one it's April's farm, which a complaint of mine would be that the Foot Clan could have followed a paper trail and figured out where the turtles went because it was April's farm. They didn't know who Casey was, but they knew who April was. But, semantics, I'm thinking too heavily into a...
They're all teenagers too, so maybe they just weren't smart enough or experienced enough yet to think about doing that. Perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. And that's another thing I want to talk about, the whole structure of the Foot Clan and the Teenage Street Gang. But maybe we can talk about that later.
Well, I guess, does it fit into something you liked or something you wish was different?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, you can talk about the aspects about it that you liked.
Well, I like how in this movie things are more realistic than the cartoon series. And the cartoons never made any sense. I understood why they were robots, the foot soldiers in the cartoons, because the turtles couldn't fight real people with their weapons.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Kind of like, I was trying to draw a comparison.
Censorship.
Yeah, kind of like where in Batman the Animated Series, like there's gunfire all the time, but no one ever gets shot,
Yeah.
or at least they don't show anyone getting shot.
And I'm really glad they have gunfire in Batman because at one point the censorship board wanted them to have laser guns.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would have been awkward. Yeah,
It
no.
would have been. But, and speaking of censorship for the Ninja Turtle cartoon, Michelangelo was not allowed to have nunchucks in England. When they, and they weren't allowed to be called ninjas. They were the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in England.
What was wrong with ninjas?
Uh,
Was it
had
like?
assassin connotations to it. It's violent.
Was it
word.
also like? No, I don't. I can imagine this, perhaps. Well, maybe not as much because like I was just thinking of World War II in part because of Oppenheimer still being so on my mind, but like, the British were bombed primarily by the Germans, so like, but the Japanese were allies of the Germans, so in some sense we're helping. So I wonder if there was like still some animosity or like anything like that seems sinister and Japanese.
I don't know, maybe, but
Just wildly guessing here. I have no idea if that's the case.
it was my understanding it was just the association with violence.
Interesting.
But anyway, I really liked how the film stuck to a lot of the comic book source material. I really liked the portrayal of Casey Jones. I didn't know who Casey Jones was watching the TV series. He was just some crazy guy. I had his action figure. But as I got older and I learned who Casey Jones was, I really appreciate how in this live action film we actually portrayed Casey Jones correctly. Casey Jones being April's love interest, among other things.
Yeah, which makes a lot more sense than her hooking up with one of the turtles. Even though the turtles, strangely, want to hook up with her. At least in this film. They said at least half a dozen times they made comments about her being hot or being a babe. What did they call her? Called her a fox, a babe, hot, maybe.
I think that was mostly Michelangelo.
Yeah, primarily. But they're attracted to her, which maybe that's a result of the radioactive ooze. Like that's a side effect. In addition to being big and speaking English, they have crushes on humans, perhaps.
Something that was carried over to the Michael Bay film, Michelangelo having the hots for April.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Michael Bay, good old Michael Bay. Man knows how to make money. Which is why he gets to keep making movies.
Does he still make movies?
I don't know. Maybe he's
he
doing
made
more in
lately?
just a producer role nowadays.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if he directs much. I don't know. Maybe he's involved in the production, like executive producer or something. Because another Transformers movie just came out, and it's actually made a decent amount of money. Like I said, he knows how to put out stuff that makes money. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, there's a lot I liked about this film. I liked how Krang was not in it. I like how we just focused on Shredder as actually a ninja training actual ninjas.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought they handled his origin story very well. It felt a little bit more believable, a little bit more sinister as well.
And that was lifted straight from the comics.
Yeah, that seemed like it had a really good foundation to it. That felt like it was something that came from the comics. Yeah. No, I liked that.
I really liked. There was a lot, in my opinion, to like about the film. What did you think?
Well, let's see. So, what did I like?
Oh, I liked the puppets.
Yes,
the puppet suits.
They did an excellent job.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the puppeteering with Splinter was excellent. Obviously, Jim Henson's company is involved. It's going to be excellent. Like they just do a great job. Obviously, the Muppets, they do a great job with
Yeah.
Muppets and Sesame Street, but also films like Dark Crystal. And let's see what else.
Didn't they work on Star Wars, at least with Yoda?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yoda on Star Wars. And I was trying to think of another one that they... Labyrinth. They were involved in Labyrinth, the Jim Henson Creature Studio.
I need to see that.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh, it's really good. It's really good. Oh, well, hey, maybe we can.
Yeah.
It fits into the nerdy, nostalgic vibe for sure. We could totally do that. We should do that, and we should do Legend.
Oh, I
With
heard
Tom-
about that.
Have you not seen it? With Tom Cruise.
No, I haven't.
Yes, we should do both of those films.
Is that the one with the Satan character?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to see that one. With played by...
He wants to see it because Satan is in it.
Yes.
No, it's
by
played,
our man, what's his name from...
he was on Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
He was on It. Not Tim Conway. I don't know why Tim Conway's coming. Tim Curry.
Yeah,
Curry.
yeah.
Tim Curry. That would have been really funny if Tim Conway had played the devil. But yeah, no, Tim Curry is in it's kind of the classic, you would think of Dante's Inferno style suit. It actually looks quite intimidating. That's an underrated film, I must say. Like one of Tom Cruise's underrated films. I think Roland Emmerich directed it, I think. I want to say.
Well, when I think of Satan, I definitely think of Tim Curry.
I mean, you play a demonic clown or alien clown, and Satan in a movie, Not to mention an evil concierge in Home Alone 2.
Did he play an evil clown in Clowns from Outer Space?
Oh, that I don't know, but he was It in the TV
miniseries.
The TV miniseries It.
The TV miniseries?
Yeah, it's really good. Actually,
I haven't seen that.
You haven't seen it?
So that's separate from the movie.
There's another one we should do. Oh yeah, the newer movies came way after this. This was early '90s.
Well, what about the older movie?
You're probably thinking of the miniseries because the miniseries, I think it basically came out to like a 3 or 4 hour movie. So it was like I think it was over 2 nights when it first aired. It was like it might have been 4 hours long, so it was like 2-hour show. And I watched it on YouTube years ago, and I was like, this is really good. And thankfully they cut out the attempted rape scene that is apparently in the book, and I'm like, why did you put that in there, Steven?
He's an alien clown. What does he care?
No, it wasn't him.
It wasn't him?
No.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into detail just to say that it shouldn't have been in the book. I don't know why Steven put it in the book. I haven't read the book, so I don't know the full context. But yeah, it's just like, But thankfully they did not put that. I mean, it was on ABC, so, back in prime time, but still, gotta be... So yeah, they did not include that, thankfully. But it was still creepy as all get out. Like, Tim Curry does a great job. He's very creepy as It. Alright, so back to Turtles and what I liked about it. Okay. I've only read a tiny bit of the comics. I think I might have borrowed one of your volumes at some point and read a little bit. So I'm not as familiar with how well it does, but it just I felt like this film struck a nice balance between some of the goofy humor of the animated series. Like some of that was in there, like the Turtles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But it felt more organic somehow. Like the Turtles were they're teenagers and they're really good at what they do, but they're having fun with it, and it like that balance worked. Like the seriousness worked. Like with Splinter being the wise old sage, and giving out some actually pretty good advice, and and then at one point we have I enjoyed the Force Ghost Splinter.
Yeah, the astral projection Splinter.
Yeah, astral projection Splinter, where they're like meditating, and he pops up from the flames, and gives them the way he worded it made it sound like he was dead. Like he just died because they're like weeping and it's like I don't know if they think he's dead at that point. I was a little confused by that.
I think that he talks as if he's going to die.
Yeah, and I guess so. Maybe that made them think it was like, oh, he is dying or he's near death, so we got to go now. We gotta go save him. So that makes sense.
I never thought of the turtles thinking he was dead. I always thought that they were crying because it gave them hope.
Oh, well.
But that was just me.
I guess I could see that too.
I think at that point they were pretty low, and they just assumed that he was probably dead. I mean, Donatello, was it Donatello? One of the turtles tells Leo that, yeah, we all think he's alive.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so it may have been more that they... Like, it's like, we must go save him. I don't know. Anyway. Let's see. What else? Yeah, I did actually kind of like... I think you mentioned this as well, like how they grounded the Foot Soldier clan, how they made it into like this Shredder character has come in and he's very much taking advantage of all these. I didn't see any girls, so like teenage boys.
Yeah.
Who feel that they've been rejected by
well there was at
fathers,
least one girl in
was
the yeah.
I may have just missed him. Excuse me. But it did seem like he was primarily targeting, but just like teenagers who either were already rebellious or who felt like they were on the outside of society, and kind of a gang mentality.
Yeah.
But he gave them some structure, like the fighting and obviously a single leader to follow and rally around. And he gave them...
It almost sounds like a cult.
Yeah. I thought of that as like culty vibes, but with Hook-esque skateboarding and video games. Like...
Smithers, who are these irreverent nerds?
Well, sir, they're the hosts of this podcast.
What's a podcast?
Well, sir, it's kind of like a radio show.
Ah, I see. Like The Shadow or CBS News.
Yes, sir.
I think we should buy it.
I don't think it's for sale, sir.
Poppycock, I just bought Twitter. I can buy this podcast.
Alright, sir. I'll talk to them and see what they say.
Excellent.
They have like a clubhouse for all the teenagers, but then they're also learning martial arts at the clubhouse, and then getting sent out on missions by Shredder and what was it, Master Tetsu, Master Tetsu. Fight! But yeah, like I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, and I think the Splinter character in particular, I mean, similar, like even in the animated series, he really grounded it in a lot of ways, like and gave it some gravitas, even in the animated series, but like definitely in this film. And Kevin Clash does a really good job with his voice, I thought, as well. And obviously the puppeteering is awesome.
Yeah.
But no, the fight scenes were good. Like the guys fighting in the suits, like those dudes were rocking it. Like this martial arts moves and stuff, like that had to have been pretty hard. Like, I mean, the suits seemed really flexible, but still, like in this, like, I don't know, latex or rubber suit, and having to do these kicks and flips and stuff, and like it was impressive. Yeah, it was impressive. Like I could have imagined, like, if I'd seen it as a kid in the theater, I think that would have excited me. I would have been like trying to act it out and stuff. Like So
I know I
there were,
did.
I'm sure there were a bunch of kids trying to act out all the fight scenes. I'm sure.
I wonder if any of the jumps or flips, if they actually had the Ninja Turtle actors on wires that they erased out of the film or something. The wires, that is.
Probably some of them, yeah. And then you had I like some of the little clips, like with Michelangelo, like the one where they're fighting, and they have the little jokes, and then at one point he does the Wheel of Fortune. They like put him on a shell and spin him around. So he's like kicking he's like, Wheel of Fortune. It's like, oh man, they didn't know what that is. Like, I thought everybody loves Vanna. Yeah, there were some jokes that actually landed and I thought were funny, like at different points in the film. So yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I liked it.
I did not yawn. I was strong. Strong. Richard.
Wow, you shut off. You suppressed your mirror neurons somehow. All right, so we talked some about what we like. So, what didn't you like? Like, what bothered you, or like, what do you felt they should have done differently?
Well, in the comics and the 2003 4 Kids cartoon series, Shredder's base is in a tower, a skyscraper in downtown, and the Turtles have to. It's a part of the Return to New York storyline. The Turtles have to climb the tower from the bottom floor upward, fighting all of the foot soldiers and all of the sci-fi technology inside the tower, including some clones of Shredder, some failed clone attempts. In the comics, Shredder had actually died, and the Foot Clan brought him back from the dead. But of course, I'm not saying I want that. I don't want that story where Shredder is a worm creature brought back from the dead. I don't even understand that. I'd have to show you the comic to explain that, but basically when the Turtles fight him in the comic the second time, worms fall out of him. He's like a zombie or something with worms.
Fun.
And I don't want the worms animate him somehow, animate his corpse. And I don't want the clones, the weird lobster clones. I don't even understand how a failed clone of Shredder turns into lobster hands. But I am saying...
Bird. Yeah. Attack of the Clones. Should totally do that. Like for...
Oh, okay. I've got to tell my friend Brian Wingrove he needs to draw a cartoon cosplay of Zoidberg as a Shredder clone now.
Yes, Brian, you should totally do that. Speaking of Brian, we should have him back on at some point. You know, we'd have our comic book friends back on.
But, no, what I would have liked, instead of an abandoned warehouse, if Shredder did have his New York complex, but I guess that just didn't fit into it. It's just that I feel like Shredder in this film was is
he like Japanese mafia, like respected businessman with a skyscraper?
Yeah,
but secretly wears the Shredder head.
Yeah, that was pretty much what it was in the 4 Kids 2003. It really fleshed out the comics, I think.
He's more like a kingpin type.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And in the comics and the 2003 cartoon show, the gang of teenagers is known as the Purple Dragons.
Oh, so they actually were in the comics.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. I mean, they drew some inspiration from the comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. That was the first. The gang was the first group the Turtles take down.
So they went around robbing and stealing.
Dragons, if I remember correctly.
Mugging.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the 4 Kids 2003 series, the Purple Dragons kind of work underneath Shredder. But he was a more respectable mafia type, Japanese mafia boss in that series. And I just feel like in this movie that recruiting kids who just steal TVs is just too low. It's almost beneath the shredder.
Yeah, that did feel a little bit like a little particular. Like this made me laugh. Like at the beginning, like as they're establishing this big bad gang, it shows this like handoff race. Like one teenager steals somebody's wallet, and he's running, and then he hands it off to another teenager, who hands it off to another teenager, who hands it off to another one, who finally hands it off to Shredder.
Yeah, or Tetsu, or whoever that was.
Someone with like a similar arm plate. And I'm like, what? The kid's just like pulls out. And you see this hand come out.
Yeah, in the broad daylight.
In broad daylight.
You know. And I'm pretty sure that everybody on the street saw more than just the hand.
Yeah, like, and that was one thing I didn't like.
Yeah, and ninjas are supposed to come out at night. That's why they just.
I don't know if it was meant to be funny. If it was, I was like, okay, I could see that a little bit, but
no, I think it was serious.
But if it wasn't, then they failed on that one. Like, yeah. I felt no danger. Well, that's a signal that we should probably wrap up soon for my wife.
Okay. What did we not like?
Yeah, so what did I not like?
Besides what we just listed.
Yeah. Let me think. Whew, excuse me. I would say the first 20-ish minutes of the film was a little flat for me. I didn't really get grabbed until maybe close to 30 minutes in. Probably really when they introduced Splinter, like they're establishing the world a bit, so but some of that just fell a little flat for me. Like, I think they could have done a better job pulling you into the story more quickly. So yeah, like the beginning could have been better, I think. I'm trying to think what else. Excuse me. One of the things that I thought was a little weird and inappropriate, like why would April's boss just randomly be showing up at her apartment with his teenage son? Like several times. It's like, April, are you going to come to work today? Or, he's just randomly popping up at her. I was like, at first I was like, are they dating? Like, what's going on here? But no, he's just showing up before work at her apartment for some reason. Yeah, and then nothing inappropriate ever happens, but it just felt weird. I was like, why is he doing that? Like, that doesn't make much sense. And she's just acting like it's normal, like he does it every day or something. I was like, I mean, he does seem like he's a single dad, so maybe he has the hots for his reporter, but you never get any other vibes on that, so it just came off weird. Weird. Yeah, they did like. I feel like they did sexualize April a little bit, like maybe. Like some of the comments with the turtles a little bit, but also like some of the way she dressed in the second half. She definitely changes and starts dressing sexier in the second half. I guess you could look at that a couple ways. Like, I don't know. She's a strong female character. Like she fights like when she's threatened. Like she attacks the foot soldiers. So she's a courageous reporter. So she's a strong female character, so you could look at it one way of like, well, she's just confident in her own body and doesn't mind showing it off, but also wouldn't take any shit, from anybody, Casey included. So like, it doesn't say ruin anything, but it could be a little bit exploitative, it's like, it's like, so I don't know, that was like a little bit like, it took me out of the film a little bit. When I first noticed it, I was like, it didn't surprise me that it was in there. But even the cartoon to some extent does that. Like, she's very curvy and wears a tight fitting suit for the whole series. So there's a little bit of that even in the kids cartoon series. But that being said, she's not like a ditzy blonde. She's a very strong female character. She sticks up for herself. She's intelligent. She's accomplished, professional, and So I guess you could, in light of all that, you could look at it more as like, no, this is just how she wants to dress. She's confident in her body. But I'm thinking more of like, it's probably men running the show with all this, men directing it, men writing it.
Yeah.
Men making decisions.
And those were the scenes they were trying to reinforce the possible romance between her and Casey Jones.
Yeah, so like, I understand like some of the reasons why, as well as target market. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Megan Fox got the Transformers role, to draw a comparison.
Wasn't Megan Fox also April O'Neil in the Ninja Turtles films?
Yes.
Yeah, Michael Bay.
Yeah, he continued working with her, but he definitely brought her on the first Transformers, because they're gearing it towards teenage boys, was the target audience. So that definitely worked. I mean, it made a buttload of money. So I knew they're probably doing it for similar reasons in this. So yeah, that was maybe one thing that they could have changed. They didn't need, and I didn't think they need to do that even to make her character sexy. Like, she's sexy without having to wear that. Like, it wasn't, she just her person, like who she was. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We're over an hour, so I'm probably not going to go into too much else. But I would have liked to have seen. Maybe a little bit more of a fight with Shredder and Splinter, but I think they handled it well because Splinter obviously was beat up and was weak.
Yeah.
So he uses his cunning instead, to take out Shredder. So I think I liked that as well. I liked how that ended. Like part of me was half expecting Splinter to just suddenly like break out into like a Yoda thing where he's like,
that would have been
he's
cool.
like walking with a cane and all of a sudden he's like fighting. So the fighting would have been cool, but it wouldn't have felt real. Whereas this felt like something he could have actually accomplished even after being beaten. Is like he used his intelligence and he used his, he was smart in the way he got under the other guy's skin. He called out his name and stuff and brought back the memories of his hatred for his former master. So like now he's angry and he acts rashly, and then Splinter used that against him. So actually I really liked that as well. So now that I think about it, I would not have changed that.
And really, Splinter is not very mobile in this film.
Yeah, not really. No, he doesn't. He does a little bit of fighting with the turtles, but yeah, you don't really see a whole lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
he just sits there or he hangs on the wall.
Yeah.
For the most part. Or he just stands there on the ladder.
Uses his presence and like, I guess you could look at it as like with the turtles, similar to Splinter, where no wasted motion. He's very calculating in his movements, and he like uses like defensive movements and like in a sense he's playing with them a little bit, while he's fighting them. Like, at least you get that feeling.
And I wanted to point out the rooftop fight scene with Shredder is actually lifted from the comics as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember you
he
telling
does
me about that.
In the comics, he dies when he falls off the roof of the building. But in that one, he doesn't fall into a garbage truck. He gets exploded by napalm. But
that'd be even harder to come back from.
Yes, of course we can't do that in a movie that is being launched by a children's cartoon.
You just see like Splinter be like, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning."
Interestingly, in the original
Michelangelo's
comics,
just like, "Cowabunga!"
In the original comics, the reason why Splinter trains the turtles is just so that they can get revenge on Shredder for killing his master.
Makes sense. It's a motive that makes sense.
Yeah, it is. Of course, they had to take that out when the comics, the brand became popular with children. You know, revenge had to be taken out. But yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm glad we did this. I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed watching it with you and fellow Turtles fan, bigger Turtles fan than I am. I think it's fair to say you definitely own a lot more of the merchandise and have seen more of the series.
Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters, baby.
Yeah, man. So yeah, I'm glad we finally did this, and I don't think we'd ever even talked about this. This was kind of more spontaneous of just like, but I think maybe in the back of the mind was like the new movie coming out soon, which we will do a review on, and so yeah, this is a good preparation for that, and yeah, looking forward to it. We'll have to, yeah, we'll definitely be dropping a review of that when it comes. So maybe not the very week of release, but definitely the month of release. We'll definitely be dropping a review of the new one. So looking forward to it. All right, nerds. Till next time. Cowabunga, dudes.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. If you would, consider following us on Instagram. We are there at irreverent_nerds. You can also hit us up on Facebook. Just look us up there at the Irreverent Nerds. That's our fan page. We have a YouTube channel as well. Once again, the Irreverent Nerds. Nice and simple, right? And if you go to www.irreverentnerds.com, that will send you to our Podcasters for Spotify, formerly Anchor.fm, profile, where you can send us a voice message if you want to, you can support us financially, or listen to the podcast. It will also direct you to other places you can listen, like Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, you name it. So, like, comment, subscribe, follow, all those good things, wherever you find us, wherever you listen to us. We would greatly appreciate it. Until next time, nerds, live long and prosper. Avengers assemble! I'm Batman.